So I was once given a pen at a free event. A free pen, a very boring pen. And I looked at it, smiled and said, "Oh, thanks, just what I have always wanted." My British friend started laughing, but my American friend genuinely thought I was that excited about a pen. Same words, but totally different reactions depending on the nationality. Today, we are going to be dissecting the curious thing that is called British humour. It has a bit of a reputation, British humour. Some call it dry, it's very sarcastic, and if you don't fully understand it, it can come across as a bit rude at times. But once you get it, it is brilliant. So, in this comprehension exercise, we will be diving into the three main ingredients when it comes to British humour. And those three things are sarcasm, understatement, and banter. If you're not sure what I mean by any of those three, don't worry. By the end of this video, you will be a master with all three of them. And then you can come to the UK with confidence and joke around as though you are one of the natives. Quickly, before we start, don't forget to get your free PDF. Link is in the description below. Are you ready to dive into the fascinating world of British humour? Let's go. First things first, let's address sarcasm. Sarcasm is when you say the opposite of what you mean, usually to mock or highlight how ridiculous something is. For example, it is pouring with rain. You are soaked. You are cold. And I say, what a lovely day for a picnic. Obviously, I don't mean that it's a lovely day for a picnic. I mean the opposite. Some other examples. Your flatmate eats the last piece of pizza. You look at them, you glare at them, and you say, "Oh, thank you for offering to me. Thanks so much. No, go ahead, you have it," after they've already started eating it. An American might think that I'm being passive aggressive, but a Brit knows you're being sarcastic and that you're not being serious. The key is the delivery. Often there's no smile. It's completely deadpan and dry, and that's why it can confuse people if you don't get it. And that's what makes it British sarcasm rather than American sass. If you've seen the UK version of The Office, David Brent does this the whole time. The awkward pause, the deadpan delivery, and by deadpan I mean no emotion. Have you ever encountered British sarcasm and it's completely gone over your head? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to know. And that leads us on to the second column of the Holy Trinity, and that is understatement. So, understatement, this is so typically British. I talk about this in another video where I go over 15 traits that are innately British. Make sure you have a look at it if you haven't. But British people tend to understate everything. We deliberately make dramatic things sound trivial, and it drives the rest of the world crazy. Our house could be crumbling, falling down behind us, and we'll say, "Oh, that's a bit annoying, isn't it?" Or something like that. Crash your car into a wall and it's a complete write-off. And you might say, "Whoops, that's a bit of a dent." And why do we do it? It can be frustrating because ultimately we're not saying what we really mean. Culturally, understatement is about emotional control. It's our way of saying, yes, this is a complete disaster, but let's not make a scene about it. And that gap between how catastrophic something is and how we describe it, that is often where the humour lies. A good example in terms of pop culture would be Monty Python. If you've seen it, great example of British humour. You know the scene with the Black Knight when he gets his arms cut off? His arm is cut off and it's spurting blood and he goes, "'Tis but a scratch." Classic example of British understatement there. And finally, let's move on to banter. If you don't know what I mean by banter, it is classically British, and it's a playful teasing going back and forth between friends when you take the mick out of each other, but in quite a light-hearted way. It's like verbal ping pong, but it can be dangerous for someone who's not familiar with it, and I'll explain why in a moment. First of all, let's give you some examples so you know what I'm talking about. There's friend A and friend B. Friend B arrives late, so friend A says, "Look at you, you're always late. I should tell you 6 if we're meeting at 7. Friend B, "Yeah, but then you just end up waiting for me from 5, wouldn't you?" Another example, friend A, "You forget everything. You'd forget your head if it wasn't attached to your shoulders." "Yeah, maybe. At least I'd have some peace and quiet." Another example, a friend gets his nose broken. The other friend says to him, "Oh, good. spoil your boy band good looks. And the other friend might reply, well, at least I don't look like the back end of a dog. Even families do it. Back home already? That must be a record. Usually we have to send out a search party. And the son or daughter might reply, don't worry, Dad, I came back to save you from the washing up. You know, since you're allergic and all. Perhaps those weren't the best examples, but that's what I mean by banter, that playful teasing back and forth. Here are the rules though that you have to be aware of if you're not British. First of all, banter only works between equals. You can't, for example, tease your boss in the same way as teasing your best friend. And equally, if your boss teases you, there's a slight power imbalance there. It needs to be between two equal people, two equal friends. Secondly, it should feel cheeky, but not cruel. If someone looks hurt by a comment, then it's gone too far. It is no longer banter, it's bullying. Sometimes growing up, people would say really cruel things and they'd just say, bants, which was slang for banter. Bants. And sometimes it would be a way of disguising actually being cruel. Proper banter isn't unkind, it's playful. So it can't go too far. You have to walk the line, because if it shifts too much, then you're into bullying territory rather than bantering territory. And finally, also very important, you need to be able to take it back. And what I mean is, don't dish it out, don't dish out the teasing unless you're prepared to be teased yourself. If you can only dish it out but can't handle the return, don't do it. Then you're not prepared for banter. The whole point is that it's a back and forth. You're teasing each other. Sometimes you might think one friend is being very rude to another, but in reality, it's just banter. So there you have it. Sarcasm, understatement, and banter. These three can cause confusion, but once you get them, once you understand them, you can join in with the British humour, and it is so much fun. I once had a student who sometimes got a bit upset about the sarcasm that he would be on the receiving end of, but actually it meant he'd been accepted as part of the group. So if a colleague is British and is teasing you or being very sarcastic with you, that's more likely because that's a statement that you are actually friends, counterintuitively. Let me know in the comments, which country are you from and what is the humour like from your country? Do you find the British sense of humour appealing, or would you prefer a more American sense of humour? A really good example actually of the two different ones is if you watch the American Office and the British Office, because that epitomizes the difference between the American sense of humour and the British sense of humour. I go into more detail about this in this video where I talk about 10 cultural differences between the United States and the UK. Thank you so much for watching. Now go off into the world and be as sarcastic and as banterous as you can be. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye.